The most damaging lie a friend ever told me. One friend told me I was not bringing enough quality people into his life. Which begged the question of why he couldn't bring quality people into his life himself. Insulting. If I think someone is my soulmate, I'm not going to just ignore him because he's dating one of my friends. If we connect and we're meant to be, I'm going for it. Later that year, she convinced a guy to break up with me and date her instead. I don't feel like I should have to rearrange my schedule just because you're in town. I moved a couple hours away, but would come back for 2 or 3 days about every other month for work stuff. She would text about how much she missed me and would love to get together for dinner or a drink the next time I was around. I would give her a week or more notice when I was going to be there and she would be busy with other plans. I finally called her on it, and that was her response. Needless to say, I don't bother her with my travel plans anymore. I was going through a really dark time after a loss, and when I tried to open up, they said, "Can you speed this up? Your depression is honestly becoming a bit of a buzzkill for the rest of the group." That was the moment I realized they didn't want a friend, they just wanted an unpaid entertainer. That my cancer was so hard on _her_. I once had a housemate that I really liked as a friend. We hung out, going to watch sports together. One day he told me that, to him, I was like a dog. I was just there. That really hurt my feelings. A little while later, he was in a bind when his car died and he called asking me to pick him up. I declined. He got mad and said I should help him because we were friends. I was like, "You said I'm like a dog to you." He had no comeback for that and quickly got off the phone. She kept subtly making comments about how great my husband is. Over time, they would get more and more obvious. It made my husband and myself uncomfortable. Hadn't talked in years. First phone call he drops a N-word out of nowhere. Let him know my wife was black. It got awkward, he apologized. We never talked again. Snuff films weren't really doing it for him anymore. He needed more excitement. Friendship was pretty much done after that. I often think about what that could have become or did become. This post reminds me why I'm happy with only 2 real friends. It wasn't a Nazi salute. He was throwing his heart out to the crowd. One of my 2 best friends in the world, whom I've known for 25 years, told me he was no longer comfortable with us being friends. I started dating someone from our friend group that I had a crush, platonic mostly, on for years. She hadn't been single in a long time and we dated for 3 months after hooking up at her birthday party until she told me she kinda had a crush on my best friend as well and asked if I was cool with her ending things with me and giving it a shot with him. I wasn't, but whatever, I love my friend to death and wished him good luck and just moved on. Kept seeing my friend several times a week and hanged out with the friend group like nothing happened. Welp, now they are moving together and he finally told me they aren't cool with hanging out with me anymore. Not even him alone with me, even though we DJ together for years, even though I didn't make any drama about anything and wished them well. I was best friends with a care aide. I wasn't sure what floor she'd be on for work as she switched around sometimes, and I was hospitalized to remove my appendix when it ruptured. I texted her to let her know so she wouldn't be surprised if she saw me or any of my family at the hospital. Instead of texting me back, she messaged my husband. I don't remember her exact wording, but something about how she can't believe things like this are always happening to her and she has exams and basically getting mad at him for me telling her. When I got my cancer diagnosis days later, I made the decision to just silently end the friendship. I wasn't in the headspace for her to make my cancer all about her, nor was I in the headspace for the drama. Sometimes I miss who I remember when we were first friends, but my life has become so much calmer without her around. I had already broken off the friendship when he weaponized my mental health against me. That damaged it beyond repair. During a really rough fight with my boyfriend, I reached out to a friend because I needed someone to talk to. The moment she heard we were arguing, she immediately told me to break up with him even though the fight wasn't that serious. A few days later, After we had worked things out, I realized she never really supported my relationship. I connected the dots, and it sure made sense that she was jealous of my relationship. I decided to distance myself and focus on what truly mattered. Yes, we do fight, but I love my man. I cut off that friend, and now we're married and celebrating our 4-year anniversary next month 3. I had a friend call me once and ask me to come with him to a Super Bowl party. I didn't want to go because I don't really like football, and I wasn't up for the social interaction. He kept up with the pressuring, and I finally relented. He said he'd pick me up. Told him to give me some time to get ready. I got out of the shower and was getting dressed when the phone rang. It was him, and he said, "Never mind. I found some other people to go with and I'd rather go with them." I paused for a moment in utter disbelief and said, "Motherfucker, don't you ever call my house again." And I hung up the phone. I've never spoken to him since. You're the only inserts my ethnicity I can stand. She was my best friend since age 11 and also my fent dealer. Obviously not a great friendship, lol. When I told her I was quitting and going to rehab, she told me I should just use cocaine instead. Haven't talked to her since, approx 10 years ago. I once told a friend that I felt like distance had grown between us, and she responded, exasperated, with "I'm sorry, I can't hold your hand through this." We ended up having a bigger falling apart about 6 months later. We didn't speak for many years and just rekindled our friendship recently, but it will never be the same. I feel like I walk in eggshells. She's someone I consider family. I don't always like her, but I do love her. Nothing like dysfunctional family.